All right, it's 2:30 and we're going to start. We are live here. It's Fishman Cohen from iRelaunch, and I am here to answer all of your questions. We've had questions already come in from a number of different sources. We're going to try to get to all of them today, and you can also put questions on in the comment section, and we'll try to get to some of the questions that are coming in as I'm talking. So first of all, for those of you who are celebrating Ramadan, I know it's the first day of Ramadan. I want to say Ramadan Kareem to all of you who are celebrating. Remember, we're having this conversation in an ever-changing situation. Every day it brings new news. Just a few minutes ago, the unemployment numbers are predicted to go to 12% by year end. That was just posted. And we're in conversations with employers all the time who are running return to work programs. So there's a lot of discussion going on, as you can imagine, for those programs that are happening this fall. Programs, may run virtually, they may run in person, we don't know yet. And also, it's possible some will get pushed off a quarter, but we are hearing as far as recruiting activity that's opening in the fall, we're seeing a lot of that proceed as we expect. But again, it's changing all the time. But the other piece of it is that most of us are not getting hired through these programs as much as work as we're doing to have more companies offer more programs. Most of us get hired directly as a one-off hire, like I got hired when I returned after my 11-year career break. And the other thing I wanted to say, just as an introduction, is that we have a unique perspective at iRelaunch because this is not our first recession. This is a very different kind of a downturn, but we have been through a recession before. We were a much younger company. But I remember distinctly that as we rode into the depths of that recession and back out again, more companies, every time we ran a conference, more companies were sponsoring, even if they had hiring freezes going on, because they were forward-looking and pipeline building. So just wanted to point that out. And we're seeing that again in the conversations with companies. They are looking beyond this, even though they're facing the reality of it right now. So let's get right into some of the tactical questions. One of the questions that came in was about LinkedIn. Should relaunchers include their pre-career break position in the headline? Should they write about their post-career break target role? What else? Something else? Any advice on positioning a relaunch in the summary section? And also, what if I'm deciding between two directions? So let's talk about that first. And let's talk about a few scenarios, since there were lots of questions in that question. One is explain who you are and what you're doing, and forget about the career break as far as the headline for your LinkedIn summary is concerned. So let's say you were you're a creative director and you want to go back to that field. So your headline could be descriptive. It could be, it could be experienced creative director with deep expertise in campaigns for consumer products ranging from toothpaste to containers. So that's what you are. You want to state it in terms of what your experience is. So let me say that again. Experienced creative director with deep expertise in campaigns for consumer products ranging from toothpaste to containers. So that's just a great way, succinct way of putting your headline out there and talking about who you are and what you do. The career break piece is irrelevant there. Now, if you're pursuing two career directions, I think a good example is our very own COO, Kelly Van, who is a relauncher herself, but I'm not even focusing on that part of her LinkedIn. I'm focusing more on her having both a strong operations background and a strong creative background. And so her headline could be multifaceted professional with diverse work background, both in operations and logistics and in managing creative teams. So that leaves it open that she could go in two different directions. And so that's the headline part. The summary part, and we will post some of this we'll post some of this in the iRelaunch Return to Work forum afterwards, so you can see some of this language. But I was looking at her summary and just lifting from it, it could be something like, as someone with an entrepreneurial mindset, which is, she wrote this, I'm a multifaceted professional with a diverse work background. Early in my career, and I'm paraphrasing here, but I'm also reading from her profile. Early in my career, I was part of the founding teams at 2 startups where my work spanned operations, HR, and creative. I then worked at more established companies, including J. Jill, Wayfair, and Living Proof, where I was able to focus on my creative passions, and as art directors, a role that included managing high-functioning design teams with marketing departments and establishing processes to improve workflow efficiency. So again, we'll copy and paste this so you can see, but you're seeing that she's communicating 2 different skill sets there. Even on the creative side, she is talking about managing teams and improving workflow efficiency. So that's how you would, that's an example of how you approach 2 different career directions. Okay, so another question that came in was, in the last downturn, how did, I also want to just say hi to some of the people who are coming on, and I see, I see Judy, I see Richard, I see Jean, I see Abby, Ellie, Paulette, Kevin, Yvonne, Dana, people from all over the country. Thank you all for joining. So let's move to this question about, in the last downturn, how did relaunchers get jobs? Exactly what did they do? So this is a really good question. Oh, hi, Christina from Orlando. Hi, Teresa. So what did they do? First of all, and this is so relevant right now, they got specific. They got really specific on their skill set and what they were looking to do. And this is not an easy task. We talk about this in Roadmap. We talk about this in assessing your career options in that session that we run at our iRelaunch conference. This takes a lot of time and reflection. Very, very, but a very specific targeting of certain roles. So that's very important. The other thing that they did is they become subject matter experts all over again in their field. So that means they're like, you know, what I did, I looked at my old finance books. I was in finance. I looked at the old transactions I worked on. I talked to my colleagues from 11 years before to find out what are the new acronyms that are in use, what are the new products, how do they all work. One great thing is get in touch with your old colleagues and find out who the experts in the field are now. So they, they will tell you who they follow, and then you should be reading everything that those experts are producing, because you want to understand what all the current issues are in your field. So books, articles, podcasts, websites. Make sure that you understand what the controversies are in your field. And the more you study this, the more conversant you'll be, the more confident you'll feel. The other thing that people did before in the downturn is they were relentless about their job search process, but they were not obnoxious. So yes, they would look up who the person was who posted a job. So maybe they found a job they were interested in on the actual company career site, but then they went to LinkedIn to see if it was posted there and asked to connect with the recruiter who had posted that job. Hold on a second. Okay. Did videos pause and now, is it better now? Okay. All right, great. So I'm not sure how much there we missed, but I will keep going. So I'm talking about the relaunchers in the last downturn and them being relentless but not obnoxious. So that means that they are pursuing, they're following up, but they're not pinging a person every single day saying, I sent my resume, did you get it? Did you get it? Or after the first interview, checking in every day. They were very measured in the timing in terms of their follow-up, and very appropriate and polite every time, because they're recognizing that in these difficult environments, the recruiters themselves are under a lot of pressure, and the recruiters are getting mixed they're getting mixed messages from their own companies in terms of what the priorities are and which jobs are proceeding and which got filled, and whether they're changing directions. There could be a lot of like bombardment and conflicting internal direction that they're getting. So when you are not hearing back from someone, then that doesn't mean anything about you. It has nothing to do with you, and you have to keep reminding yourself that. So that was the other piece, is that people from the past who were successful in getting jobs during downturns were relentless. I'm sorry, they were patient. They were patient because they knew this process took time, and they know that the process is going to take longer right now. But I also want to say, just because it's taking longer doesn't mean there are no jobs available. So they also didn't get, they weren't encumbered by a negative context about, well, the economy is terrible and no one is hiring. That kind of thing. They didn't get derailed by that kind of macro picture that was going on in the background. They were focused on finding a job even if the economy was terrible. So think about this. You only need one job. And even when companies are laying off, when the economic picture is very dire, you can go onto websites and see brand new postings. You can see companies that have jobs available. Let me give you an example. One of my favorite websites, because it's about in academia where a lot of relaunchers don't think to look, is called hercjobs.org, HERC jobs.org. And that website right now has about 35,000 jobs on it. 345 of them were posted today. So, you would think, is that possible? You're hearing all of this negative news about colleges and universities. They don't really know what's going to go on in the fall. Are they even going to open? Are there hiring freezes? A hit to their endowments. Yet on that site, which is opportunities at academic institutions across the country, the 345 jobs got posted just today. So I want you to feel encouraged by that. I mean, of course, there are going to be industries that are just slaughtered, like, airlines and hospitality, industries, travel-related industries, really, really tough right now. Some big layoffs there in the startup community and venture-funded companies, and also the big ones. But at the same time, you're also hearing about medical and healthcare and consumer goods and food supply and virtual and tech and e-commerce, those companies, those sectors that are all hiring, and there are plenty of lists out there of those companies that are hiring. So the thing is, though, note to see when the jobs are posted, if it's an old posting or not. Another thing that relaunchers during a downturn did was to make sure that they got certifications or recertifications that they need for a job. So, for example, we had a manufacturing engineer who wanted to be in quality engineering, and she had an 11-year career break, and she realized that every job she looked at required Lean or Six Sigma certification. So she had to get that before she could even apply for a lot of these jobs. So think about that. Think about whether a new certification could be helpful to you. Someone asked, how can we be updating some of our soft skills now? How can we be getting up to speed? You know, there's this certification I really like in anti-money laundering, the ACAMS online certification program. And we've had people switch fields from media to finance by taking that program and get hired or re-up their skills in this very specific area in anti-money laundering or in compliance-related areas in finance. And there's a lot of focus on those right now. So, you know, maybe that's part of what you're doing right now is you're spending time doing coursework, and you could do free coursework. You can look at edX or Coursera, all sorts of courses, soft skill courses on there, and also a huge range, thousands of courses, and you can take them all for free. And I would spend some of my time on that right now too, and I would put that right on my resume and LinkedIn profile that I'm taking these courses, even if I just started them. You can put them on that you're currently taking them. And then the other thing is that they check with their alma mater to find out what kind of career services were being offered. And I'm watching what is being offered right now for current students, because I know that maybe some of you even have students who are home because they had rescinded job offers or because their summer job process all of a sudden just started, and it's really, really hard. And I hear, like, I'm hearing I'm looking at some comments right now, like, it's so hard right now with our kids at home of all different ages, and we totally understand the need to vent. I hear that. And also our adult children who have employment issues of their own at the same time that we're trying to relaunch. So the schools are really beefing up their virtual offerings right now for current students, and I have to speculate that that's going to spill over into their alumni populations, which really need their support right now. So check with your alma mater to see what they're offering. And then here's a really important one. The people who were successful because they were relentless about going after their jobs, they were also ignoring the naysayers. So we say, oh, Paulette, thanks for saying this. She says her undergrad university just started a new online alumni connection program. That's great. And Christine, yeah, I'll make that comment about the free courses, about that you don't get a certificate or the tests that you take. But we have had people complete those courses, the free version, and it was the most important to the employer that they completed them as opposed to getting the official certification or test at the end. So I can see the benefits of both. But anyway, getting back to this, ignoring the naysayers. So you have to ignore people who are going to say to you, oh, well, isn't everyone looking for a job these days? Good luck with that, you know? So you might go public with your job search. You might have people react like that to you. It's probably because they've got their own anxieties and they're feeding that back to you. So you have to filter all that out. And the people who were successful were able to put those kind of comments aside and keep going forward with their job search. They also didn't get hung up on level. They weren't so worried about what level they came in at. And we have a really good article on this in Harvard Business Review. I wrote this article about relaunchers who were senior before, who came in at much more junior levels. We caught up with them. Where are they now that they've been back in the workforce for a number of years? And their message across the board was just focus on getting in and don't worry about what level it is. And that actually dovetails with a question that came in where someone said, you know, I've got this job opportunity. It's like 2/3 the salary that I was making before. This is this question that came into us earlier after a 5-year career break. And the question was the paid time off is like 10 days per year. And so it feels like not enough to me. Do I still take the job? And can I keep looking for other jobs? And I would say the answer is yes, you absolutely take that job. You get in the door, take that job, learn everything you can, produce the best work you can produce. See how it goes. It may turn out that you like that job a lot better than you thought you were going to like it. And also, the other question about is, can I continue to look for a job even while I've taken this job, because I think that some of the terms of this job are not that good? And like, is there something wrong with that? It's almost like it's an ethical or moral issue. Is it just not appropriate? But the answer to that is, most managers and recruiters and people who are working will say, everyone is always in play. Anyone who's been managing for a long time will say, even the people who are not looking could get approached by a headhunter or a recruiter and get an offer they can't refuse, kind of thing. So everyone's always in play. There's nothing wrong with looking around while you have a current role. And again, I say, immerse yourself in that role, do your best work. It could turn out you like it, and then maybe they give you more vacation days or promotion or money later, and that's all a good thing, and it's totally fine to keep looking. Now, there was a question related to that about, there's something on LinkedIn where it on your profile, it pops up and says, I'd like to make an appointment with this person. Like if a recruiter wanted to interview you. The question was, how do I do that? Because then they know I'm looking. But anyway, I think there's probably a way to turn that off, and we need to find out. I don't know the answer and how to turn it off, but we're going to try to find that out. Okay, let's see. Sometimes they won't even talk to you for those lower level jobs. Do you think, hold on, let me see if I can see, with so many people out of work due to COVID, that has changed mindsets? Yes, I do actually. And I think that the experience that companies have had and the world has seen by people being brought back after to jobs after out of retirement, and other situations where people are just immediately reintegrated back into the workforce. I think it's going to change everyone's mindset. And I think just like virtual work now is all of a sudden, everyone's thinking, why did we were even in an office in the first place? And it's having all the employers like reevaluate the whole idea of working virtually. So that is one change in mindset. But I do think that that people will talk to you about lower level jobs. I also think it's up to you to educate them and to say, I intentionally sought this job out. I actually wrote an article for Fairy Godboss and one for Harvard Business Review about why people take lower level jobs or than what they left. And it's for so many reasons. Sometimes we simply want a less stressful job. We want to deliver, and this is what you can say. My priority is to deliver excellent results to my employer, and I intentionally sought this role out because I know that I can do this and manage my life outside of work. This was an intentional choice on my part, and at my current life stage, it's the perfect match. So use some language like that to educate why you're looking for a lower level role. All right, let's see here. Oh, okay. So I hear. Thank you for the comments about the pressures of being home and trying to manage what's going on at home with what's going on with your relaunch and how it's impacting your relaunch. So we can talk about some of that more on the forum itself. I just want to make sure that I'm getting to some of these other tactical questions that. Oh yes, and here's one. So we have a discussion going on the forum right now about references. So someone said, and we've had this come up before, someone said, I'm at the point now where they're asking for references, and we always get this question, how do relaunchers get references from their old colleagues or their old boss when they had a 14-year career break, and A, they don't know where the boss is anymore, B, the person's retired. In a few cases where people took like 20-year career breaks, sometimes their managers have died, but really it's more the situation where they've been out of touch. So we have had so many relaunchers get back in touch with their bosses from 10, 14 years ago, and have those bosses. And if you look at the thread, there's a thread right now on the forum about this with a lot of people saying this, that you know what, I got in touch with my boss from 14 years ago, totally remembered me, wrote a reference, and it worked for me. But the other thing is that people are lobbing in comments about, can you do a volunteer role, like a substantive pro bono volunteer role that you're doing specifically because you want the reference from the person or the company that you're doing the work for? So we've actually seen relaunchers almost trade like a consulting project for a reference specifically in this kind of situation. And then you can also include a character reference in the mix, and maybe from people you volunteer with in the community or at one of your kids' schools. All right, let me just double check here. Oh yeah, we have another question that came up about working in the, about being worried about having to have FaceTime in the office. Now, of course, this is going to be different now with COVID, but let's say we move back to the old way of doing things, and people are focused on FaceTime again. And this person was worried that they're a single parent, they have to leave by 5 p.m. every day to pick up their kid, and they're used to working 12 to 14 hours a day in their industry, as a fashion industry, before their career break. So this is, first of all, think about how long have you been on career break? Has the industry changed? It may change significantly now after COVID with everyone working virtually, but if you wait till you get the offer, and then it's perfectly fine to say that your priority is to contribute your best work to the organization, and do your most excellent work. You want to be able to view your work day as a long day. And so for you, your workday could start at 8 or 9 o'clock. It's going to take a break between 5 o'clock and 9 o'clock p.m. and then it's going to continue because you need to be able to leave to make that pickup and get your kids settled. But it does not have anything to do with your level of dedication and commitment and the work product that you're going to produce. So I think you get the offer first, and then you have that conversation, and then you see what the reaction is. And but I think it's a perfectly appropriate to bring it up and also talk about how you view your work day, and that you would be available for urgent messages and accessible for if there are emergencies or important things during that time of day, but that you would organize your work day in that way. Perfectly appropriate conversation. All right, talk about resume software on company websites. Does it weed out resumes if it shows a gap? What if a volunteer role shows? Yeah. So anyway, Maureen, thank you for asking that question. So you will have to fill out these online applications where you have to account for all of your time. And yes, I would put a volunteer role in there in the same way that I might put a paid work in there. And the other thing, though, is that once I applied for that job, and this is going to be the case with pretty much any job, is that it's not going to be enough to apply through that system. And you might get bounced back and bounced out of that system and get an immediate rejection. And I still wouldn't assume that that means you're really rejected. We, especially with big companies, we've had relaunchers get rejected out of these auto systems, and then they go find someone who knows someone, or they're an old colleague, or if they used to work there. We have a great story about someone who used to work at company, I won't name it right now, and went to our conference and met people at that company, applied for a job she thought she was eminently qualified for, immediately got rejected. She could not believe it. So she went back and she said, I am so qualified for this. And she talked to one of her old colleagues. They put her application back in. She got the job. So it could be, if it's a very big company, you get rejected by the auto system, go through a side door, go through a person who knows another person who can walk your resume over. And sometimes they'll say, well, you got to apply. And you'll say, well, I did apply and it's just rejecting me because of my career break, but I'm so qualified for this role. And see if that's how a lot of people circumvent the system and get considered for these roles. Practicing soft skills. Hi, Kevin. Tips on practicing soft skills after a career break. So I saw that question come in, I wasn't sure exactly what you meant about soft skills. Like, did you mean like multitasking and project management, or I thought maybe you also said something about like the interview process, like interviewing virtually, or uploading videos or doing those kinds of newer job search activities. So I would say definitely contact your alma mater, see if they do mock interview practice, see if they have resources for you in terms of can you talk to alumni who are in your field, maybe not to get a job, but just to practice more, having conversations about it. Let's see. Kevin, thank you for clarifying how to interview and presenting yourself in public speaking. Oh, I'm glad you brought that up, because I have mentioned in the past that Toastmasters is a really good place for people to go during their relaunch while they're in their job search. The organization, toastmasters.org, where people are working on their public speaking abilities, because most of the people in these Toastmasters groups are working. And their Toastmasters is a worldwide organization, and you put your zip code in, and there are chapters meeting everywhere. It's relatively inexpensive, and they meet every other week. And so I just looked up today to see, are they continuing to meet online? And the answer is yes. So I would definitely tap that as a resource for you. Yes, we are gonna end soon, and we can run another one of these to answer more questions. I see Christine saying Toastmasters is awesome. That's great. Yeah, how can we make ourselves stand out as relaunchers where millions are now unemployed? How do we position ourselves as competitive? It's everything I'm talking about. Figure out exactly what your skills are. Become a subject matter expert all over again. You can do that right now. And don't get derailed by thinking that you are any less qualified than someone who hasn't had a career break. COVID is going to change a lot of things about the job search, but you want to use your networks, go public with your job search, use this time to reconnect with people that you haven't reconnected with in a long time, and just check in, how are they doing? And that is going to be a great way to sort of segue into, well, how are you doing? And you can explain what you're thinking about, but make sure you know what you want to do and you're really specific about it. So I would say, put that out of your mind, that we can't compete against people who don't have career breaks. We're always in that situation. It's going to be more exaggerated now. Maybe it's going to take longer, but it's not going to change the core strategies that we use to be successful. All right, so I think we're going to wrap up now. Thank you everyone for attending. We will, I see everyone, Katya, Teresa, yes, Abby, we'll try to have it. I don't know if we're going to have it every other week. We'll try to have it on a somewhat regular basis, be in touch with all of you. And the answer, Katya, is absolutely yes. Keep applying during this period, but also keep finding individuals who, make it personal. Someone who still can do that personal handoff of your resume. Thank you so much. It's been great to connect with everyone. I'm so glad you were all on, and we will do this again.